Now, politics editor for Roll Call, Shira Center, and Washington bureau chief for Time magazine, Michael Shira. Thank you for joining us. So, does he have a chance? I mean, it's 2.5 years into a difficult time. He's got foreign policy crises. He's got, uncooperative Congress. Can he sell this bear nickname, or is he more likely to keep the lame duck albatross around his neck? I'll let you speak first.
Right. I think the next 6 months are going to be basically centered on the midterm elections, right? So nothing's going to get done in Congress. We've looked at the calendar at Roll Call. I think they're in town for maybe a few more days, right, before August recess. There's really not much of an opportunity to do much anyway. But in terms of his personal life, and we see him going around the country, going to these diners. He's doing the same thing in D.C. It's YOLO for him. He's stopping at every fast casual restaurant on Connecticut Avenue.
He looks happier for sure.
He does.
I mean, but after those 6 months, I mean, is this going to get him any sort of credibility or public support that he can leverage into getting stuff done?
You know, barring some big upset in the coming election, he's going to have a worse Congress to deal with after this election than he has now. So there's not much hope. He's sort of a lame duck dressing up like a bear right now. They need a storyline. You know, they're going to do fundraisers around the country. They can't push legislation because there's no legislation moving, so they've created a nice storyline. It's a fun storyline. Get him out campaigning. He always says, I've done my last campaign, but I have one more campaign. Here's the next campaign to just, be a regular person.
Oh, yeah. You've told us we've swallowed the White House storyline. I mean,
Well, no, we tell the White House storyline. It's part of our job.
Well, I want to turn to a more difficult race and political issue. This is the Mississippi race, one of the ugliest of the primary season, and it just took a tragic turn. A Mississippi Tea Party leader accused of being one of the men behind a photograph taken of Senator Thad Cochran's wife in a nursing home. One of the ugliest moments of this race, just committed suicide. Tea Party challenger Chris McDaniel, who lost that race very close, posted on his Facebook page, regardless of recent allegations made against his character, Mark Mayfield was a fine Christian man who was always respectful and kind. He was one of the most polite and humble men I've ever met. However, McDaniel is still threatening a legal challenge. Listen to what he had to say.
35,000 to 40,000 Democrats jumped in this race and apparently tried to decide it. They have their own primary. We have ours. What we're looking for right now is irregularities. We've already found hundreds, and we're going to keep looking.
So, Shira, have we not seen the last of this ugly race?
I mean, maybe in terms of Chris McDaniel talking about it, but I think this race is done, right? He doesn't need 100. He needs to find 7,000. Really, what he's doing right now is wasting a lot of his own political capital. I think when you drag a race on like this, you ruin any chances of perhaps running for Senate again. Thad Cochran is not going to be a U.S. Senator forever and ever, and Chris McDaniel is a young guy.
Did we learn anything positive from this race? I mean, is there a lasting victory here, Michael, in that you had the Republican Party, in a rare instance, granted a desperate circumstances, reaching out to African Americans? Now, to be fair, Senator Cochran had reached out to them, built relationships before. But is there something to build on here, or was this purely opportunistic politics on his part?
Well, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce would certainly say yes. They're very proud of his victory. I think there's a lot of people in the establishment who've been waiting for something they can really wave the flag over. They've taken a lot of beatings in recent years. And this was a case in which you had an old school politician, an appropriator, someone who's made his name taking federal deficit dollars and sending it to Mississippi, win in a Republican primary with some Democratic help, which was, for the most part, legal, by the way. McDaniel there is complaining about Democrats crossing over. As long as you intend to vote in the general election for the person you vote for in the primary, it's perfectly legal for a Democrat to cross over, so there's not really much
We've seen that happen in other primaries in the other direction.
That's right.
But it's been interesting for us because McDaniel supporters have been using our own Dana Bash's reporting as evidence that African-American Democrats, sort of somehow wrongly took part in this election. She interviewed African-American voters who voted for Cochran and as to why they did. Is there anything wrong with that?
Well, legally, no, not at all. Under Mississippi law, it's an open primary, as Michael just said. I think the National Party is going to very quickly, if they haven't become already, become very frustrated with Chris McDaniel, essentially saying African-American, mostly African-American voters cannot vote in the Republican Party primary. That's a hard thing for a party that's really trying to expand its diversity reach right now.
We have another, just going back to the president for a moment before we finish up. You have the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, still threatening this lawsuit against the president. Michael, chances?
chances of him actually
he'll
filing
follow
the
through,
lawsuit.
but what's the point, really?
Yeah, no, it's really hard to get one of these lawsuits to come to a conclusion. The courts don't like giving standing to Congress. They like the two branches of government to fight it out amongst themselves and not be the arbiter in the middle. We don't know what the lawsuit is, though. So it's possible that he finds some technicality. It's clear that the court, in the recess appointment case we recently had, is willing to take up some of these issues, but it's not clear at all that he's going to be able to.
Imagine that, just more political showboating in Washington. Thanks very much, Michael Shearer. Thanks for joining us.